Welcome to the season finale on Connie Celica, my 1977 Toyota Celica, where we're going to break down for you exactly what it's cost to get us to this point with the build, as well as cover some other odds and ends about things we might do differently, things we have planned for the future, and all that good stuff. Welcome to Peter and Dave Do Math at a wooden table in front of Connie Celica, where we're actually going to do the thing that you should never do as a car enthusiast, and that's add up the build costs. I've never done this before, and I'm discovering for good reason, because it's slightly terrifying.
We did do it once with the S2000.
We did.
And it was very terrifying.
It was a larger number than we thought it would be.
Yeah, it was like 30 grand
I know.
went into that car, and everyone's like, oh, Mom, their minds exploded, but the reality is, that's what it costs to build a car like that.
Yeah, and Connie did cost some money to build, so I'm going to put on my my new hipster spec glasses here so I can read our spreadsheet and give you a rundown of where we're at with it right now. You know, if you've been following the series since day one, we bought this car out of Arizona from our buddy Russ Wieland, who had been sitting on the car for maybe a decade. A rust-free Arizona chassis for $1,000 US. It was a miracle.
It's a miracle!
It was an act of extreme generosity on Russ's part, so thank you, Russ, you're a legend. But it did cost me $1,000 to ship it up here, so I'm saying the cost of the car to me was $2,000.
Yeah.
This is all in US dollars, by the way, just to keep it simple since a lot of the parts came out of the States. From there, we went to the Beams engine. That was really the first big purchase we made for the car. We decided that I wanted to put the Beams 3S GE blacktop in here. We picked that motor up for $1,300 Canadian or $1,000 US at a local JDM importer.
Which is a smoking deal. Like, those motors are a steal in my opinion.
So from there we had to start looking at the basics of how do we install this engine in this chassis, and for that I started off on firstgencelica.com, a forum where I found Matt Panick's build thread. Matt Panick's car is it is famous, and for good reason. He was probably one of the first guys to build a beam swap Celica. He drifts it, and he had partnered with Excessive Manufacturing, who is also based in the Portland, Oregon area, and they had built like engine mounts for his car and a trans cross member for his car. So yeah, Excessive Manufacturing had the engine mount brackets that we needed to bolt the motor to an A86 cross member. The mounts were very inexpensive. I think they were literally $100. They also built the transmission cross member for this car. Well, we took some measurements and sent them like a mock-up, and they made us this one, which is now available on their website as an RA24 trans cross member, which I think costs $100. So it didn't cost a lot to kind of get the basics covered of mounting the engine in the chassis. Also had to have a custom driveshaft made, which Excessive did again. $385 for a custom length driveshaft. After that, it was starting to figure out things like clutch. So I got a spec Stage 2 Plus, I believe, clutch in there, and that's around $300. Koyo makes a rad for this late first gen car under like 76 and 77 model years, as well as one for earlier first-gen Celicas, and that was $375. Excessive Manufacturing has a rad shroud and fan kit. So,
which is awesome.
Bolts right up to this rad.
Yeah, $110?
$110 for that. And again, because this was a late first-gen rad, he didn't have that kit, so we kind of sent him some measurements. So he now offers that kit for the late first-gen guys. So we're breaking ground here, Peter. We're late first-gen groundbreakers.
So good.
I love it. Other than that, we set up a oil cooler from Koyorad. That's, I think they're 15 row. We made some lines up with vibrant fittings and lines. So that was maybe $400 into that setup. Where things start to get a little bit pricier is in the engine management world. So I went with a custom harness from Panic Wire, and that's about a $1,000 harness. And it's really very nicely built, as you would have seen in the series. It's like a race quality harness, and it takes all the thinking out of it. He even test fit our harness on a Beams at his place before sending it over here.
Amazing.
So he knew all the routing was correct, which is pretty outstanding. That's Mark Panic, Matt's brother, runs Panic Wire. So he's been a huge help to us, and he actually sells a complete kit now with the harness and a Link Monsoon ECU through Excessive Manufacturing for like $1,580 or something like that.
That's a smoking deal with a harness.
With a harness and the ECU. So we went a little bigger than that. We went to the Link Fury ECU, which is kind of like their motorsports grade higher end ECU, which I think you can get on eBay for about $1,500. So between the harness and the ECU, I'm maybe $2,500 into it. I also went with the SmartWire street setup, which is a solid state PDM. It's a $2,000 unit, but it means I've got no fuses in this car. I've got completely
pretty awesome
bulletproof wiring on the car. So I also put the Racepack IQ3S street dash in it. So again, that's like what do we have for price on that? $1,000 almost. And I could have put some basic gauges in there and saved money there. So again, I did it pretty big on this. I bought those A111 Blacktop ITBs on eBay for $400.
Just pretty awesome for ITBs. Yeah.
And they were mint condition, complete with sensors and everything. So there's lots of other stuff that went along with the ITB setup, like the Piper Cross filter and adapter plate, which I got from Battle Garage for looks like about $120. I put 100 mil SQ Engineering ITB trumpets on it, which were almost $240. And then to make that all work, we needed the vacuum distribution block and those fittings and lines from Vibrant Performance. That all worked out to be about $100. And it just goes on from there, including the fuel system. We've got, we used that Sickie Universal Fuel Line Kit, which included the C5 Corvette, pressure regulator, filter, all in one unit.
With all the AN fitting adapters.
Actually a pretty simple fuel setup system that we did. We didn't go crazy on that.
No.
Like, we used a Vibrant catch can, which is about $150, and their windshield washer bottle setup, which is about $40. The rear axle, I bought a used A86 GTS rear axle from Pat Sear, and that I think was a couple $100, and then I put new seals and bearings in it, which were $234 from Battle Garage. And I put a Tomei LSD in it, which is about a $700 unit. Another area I went kind of big was the brakes, and that's because I want to track this car. And so I went and spent the big bucks on disc brakes front and rear from fastbrakes.com. So they're 11-inch front brake kits, $730, which I think is pretty amazing.
It's pretty good for big brake kit.
4-pot calipers, rotors, brake lines, and pads.
Yeah.
For $730.
That's pretty dang good.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The rear kit's actually more money because it comes with the e-brake cables. So it ended up being like $995 for the rear discs.
Which unfortunately we weren't able to use.
Yeah, we had issues trying to make those e-brake cables fit our work wheels. So that's why we went with the Sickie Hydro e-brake, which is like a $225 Hydro e-brake, which works extremely well. Suspension-wise, we did lots of fancy stuff there too. Obviously, we used Fortunato 500 series coilovers. What do I have for price on those? $1,300. I also used a front sway bar from Whiteline, which is about a $200 piece. I used the whole front control arm setup and billet front hubs are from Technotoy Tuning.
Yeah.
Those really fancy GTX2 front control arms and tension rods are almost $600.
It's almost like $1,000 for both.
Yeah.
A bit more.
Yeah, something in that ballpark. I used the billet front hubs because why not? The OE hubs are almost as much money.
Yeah.
The billet ones are lighter. The whole TRD, spoiler, JDM smiley bumpers, and fender flares, that whole setup, which are fiberglass pieces from Toy Sport, those all cost a little over $1,000.
Yeah, that's expensive.
It is.
That's expensive.
But one chrome smiley bumper is like $1,000, $1,500.
Jeez Louise.
And I might eventually get chrome smileys on it. We actually saw that car at SEMA that had fiberglass smiley fenders on it, that MG, that he wrapped in like a chrome-like vinyl.
Yeah, which actually worked exceptionally well.
It looked really good. It was very convincing. So we might try that on Connie. What else? The work wheels, well, those are Equipe 40s and a 15x9, -3 offset, and on Evasive's website, they're like $405 each. So we'll call that $1,600 in wheels. The tires are Toyo R888Rs, 225 50/15s. On Tire Rack, they're like $624. The roll bar, my buddy Mike at GT Customs did that. We'll call that $1,000. And the seats, well, I've only got one seat and harness in there right now, but I priced it out at 2 seats and 2 harnesses, and that works out to be about $1,400. Those seats are actually surprisingly affordable at $600 a pop.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's not
and
bad.
they look the part, which is the big thing, right?
What else we have in there? We got the Momo steering wheel. It's a retro model, 360 mil. It's worth about $380. Sorry, $240. And of course that custom Speed Academy horn button. That was $60 from Adam at revlimiter.net. You can do all kinds of cool custom stuff for you with horn buttons and other accessories for your car. He offers a lot of cool stuff there. So the numbers add up pretty fast, Peter. It's a little bit shocking, but we get up to $27,000 and change, as the car sits right now.
Yeah.
In US dollars.
I'm not surprised. It's still sticker shock because I think so much of us are used to buying cars for like 10 grand, putting like 5-6 grand into them, and then you're ready to rip. But the reality of it is, you've completely
Yeah.
rebuilt a vehicle.
We
here.
have,
And that is A, no small feat, and
Yeah.
B, requires a lot of money.
A lot of fresh
Right?
parts.
Yeah,
Like
it
there's
really
nothing original left other than
No.
the bodywork right
Like-
at this point.
Suspension, brakes,
Everything.
like engine,
Yeah.
steering, everything, inside, interior, all that. When you do that, this is kind of what is to be expected, right?
Yeah. And when you figure once we paint it and put an interior in it, let's say that brings us up to 35 grand.
Yeah.
We'll have a brand new car at that point
100%. Yeah, exactly.
with
yeah.
modern performance,
Yeah.
but old school style. And like, what can you buy for 35 grand that compares?
Yeah, and to kind of be devil's advocate here, if you think about the resto mod cars, like to go into a shop and to get something like this built for like an old muscle car, you're looking at 100K plus,
easily,
right? Like,
easily.
I know there's so many different levels of
Yes.
build on that, but still, it is a very, very expensive venture.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, this is 30K without our labor
Yes,
and
doesn't
whatnot.
factor in
So
labor.
obviously, there's a little bit of a skew there,
Yes.
but it's not cheap to build those cars. So, you know, when you look at this car for that kind of money,
We're close, and we're going to get closer with the addition of this Willwood proportioning valve. We did some thinking on the whole brake issue that we were having at the track in the last episode, and it dawned on me that we never changed out the proportioning valve on this car, which originally had rear drums in it.
Yeah.
So we've got a drum proportioning valve in there, which doesn't work well with the rear disc conversion that we did. So I'm pretty sure if we swap that out and swap this adjustable guy in there, we'll be able to get the brake balance sorted out, and we should have functioning brakes. There's lots of other little things that need to be addressed too, like mirrors. I bought this rear view mirror on eBay, and it is an A86 reproduction rear view mirror, which also bolts directly to the factory mounting points in this chassis. This cost me, I think, $20 or $30.
Wow.
I also don't have glass on the passenger side view mirror.
someone did break that.
That fell off, so I bought a whole new mirror with glass off of a Facebook group for First Gen Celica guys.
Right on.
It wasn't cheap. I think I paid $90 on it, so we got to add that to the
Yeah.
budget. We're almost up to $28,000 now, guys. There's lots of other little details too. Like I ordered these Toyota grommet to plug all the grommeted drain holes and so on in the chassis. There's one here for the firewall. I also got some plastic clips that are used for mounting up the front grille, because our front grille was kind of on the dyno. It was vibrating and all that. The interior also needs a major overhaul. Like there is no interior right now. And originally I was thinking of leaving it gutted, sort of Porsche RS style. But I've kind of come around to the idea of driving it more on the street and wanting it to be more civilized. So I want to put a bunch of sound deadening in it. I want to put carpets in it. I want to put the rear seats in it, and like the rear side panels and the door panels and all
It'll
that
look more
back in it.
complete. It'll just be nicer to drive on the, even like to and from the racetrack, right?
Yeah, it'll be so much more pleasant. And right now it's just really loud and tin canny in there because there's nothing in there. It's pretty intolerable. So I think I'm going to have a lot of the interior redone. So I'll have the seats recovered. I'll have the side cards and the door cards recovered. I'll probably modernize them a bit too, because they have like cheesy old wood grain on them and stuff. I may replace those with like
do an
carbon
RS style.
Yeah. So we'll do some of that in season 3. And after that, it's really body and paint. That's the next big step, isn't it?
Yes.
That is a big one.
That is a big one. Very big one.
It's a little intimidating because it means blowing this car up again. I just had it apart really to go put the roll bar in it. Haven't decided on a color yet. If you follow me on Instagram, Dave Pratt, you can see my latest post about what color should I paint Connie, white or silver. So I'm kind of torn between the white and silver options.
Pull.
Yes, white or silver. The car was originally silver, even though in the videos it looks almost like it's white because the paint is so badly faded, but originally it was a silver, kind of a gray silver color. But I love white cars. It's a really clean look, and it's easily repaired and easy to paint match if there's a pearl in it. So, but I do really like the way the car looks in silver. When I go online and I find pictures of other first-gen Celicas
I
in
know.
silver,
It's tough because silver is good.
It gives it a kind of a classier vibe somehow.
100% it does, yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm really torn. Anyway, guys, I think that's a wrap on this
It is, yes.
season-ending episode of Connie Celica. What else do we say, Peter, other than give us a thumbs up?
Yeah.
Hit the subscribe button. Go to our store and buy some swag to help me pay for this $30,000 dream
Go
car.
to Patreon, throw us a couple bucks there.
That's right. Help me paint this car, everybody. I need help. I'm bankrupt. I'm broke. It's over. If you have a favorite shade of silver or a favorite shade of white that you think would look good on Connie, maybe let us know in the comment section what you think of those options. And if you want us to paint it orange or red or green, just don't even go there.
Don't. We're already having trouble with two
white
colors.
or silver. We got to narrow it down. So it's going to be white or silver.